pistol's just as deadly as a gun. It depends on whose hands they're in.
Right.
It's very obvious.
It's very
Tons
obvious.
of restrictions on AK-40, what are they?
Why are kids doing this in general? It's not because guns exist. People are not running each other over just because cars exist.
What's going on, everyone? James Klug here. Given the recent shooting in Uvalde, Texas, I think it's important for us to talk about the possible solutions to prevent or reduce these kinds of tragedies. And I say reduce because there's unfortunately no policy that eliminates evil. So today we're in Southern California to find out what people think. Before we get started, you guys, this video is sponsored by Undertac. Huge shout out to you guys. Thank you guys so much. We ready to get going?
Yep.
Let's go talk to some people. What's the best way to prevent school shootings, in your opinion? What do we need to be doing? What do you think?
Restrictions on guns.
It's very
More.
obvious. It's very obvious.
It's very
Tons
obvious.
of restrictions on AK-40, what are they?
I think the guns have to be limited in some way or fashion or form.
All of those.
AR-15s and things.
Tons of restrictions.
Okay.
They're not doing
High capacity magazines. No need. Well, banning assault weapons would be the first thing.
Even if one can be prevented by limiting guns in the beginning or to start with, I mean, it's a start, right? So
What do you think?
Well, so we're coming out here, I'm telling people what I think. Pretty much my approach is hardening schools, like they did at all these schools around here, which is, you know, not just having schools where anybody can just walk on.
Oh, that's the first thing, yeah.
Also, armed security on schools, whether it be an officer or anything like that, actually at the school.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Why don't we guard our kids like we guard every, like high value like celebrities and politicians and stuff like that? They have armed guards and stuff like that, right? I mean, I understand different people have different opinions about the gun issue, but like to solve the problem, like you can't just stop these crazy people like that. It's just not going to happen. It's a culture thing, you know. I mean, we need to protect the kids, you know. So if that means having some armed cops guarding the schools, I'm like all for that.
Maybe like higher security at schools, maybe have like someone check the students as they walk in, backpacks, things like that.
if it's not schools, then I mean, you know, if the person who wants to shoot will find other places where, you know, there's enough public to do what he wants to do.
And then I'm actually okay with what they have in Florida, where the sheriff's department can train a teacher that wants to get their concealed carry and go through a bunch of training and be on campus with a concealed carry. Do you guys disagree with any of those?
That's a
Yes.
risk. Teachers, armed teachers, because then you could have innocent students being shot too in response to an attack.
That's a good idea at all.
You think they were just innocent? They just shoot them
No,
on
they would
accident?
just be in crossfire.
we
I'm
raise
just
poor
saying.
children.
In crossfire?
Yeah.
You mean like if there was a school shooter, there would be
Teacher shooting with an intruder, yes.
If teachers definitely don't force them, but if they want to, if they want to arm themselves and train themselves and I think they should be able to do that.
Would you prefer no teacher that's armed on campus over a teacher that's armed on campus if there was an active shooter on campus?
I don't think they should arm teachers, no. I think that's a mistake.
I don't think that
I
that's
don't
a teacher's
agree with that.
capability.
Do you like the idea of an armed guard on campus?
Yes,
That
that's a
makes
good idea.
sense, yeah.
Yes.
All right, you guys, let's take a quick second to talk about today's sponsor. Too many of us are wearing some old dude's name on our underwear, and if you think about it, that is objectively weird. Stop that. Thankfully, there's Undertac underwear. Originally designed for special forces operators in dangerous environments, these are quite literally the ultimate pair of underwear. They're made with high quality material that's antibacterial, moisture wicking, and will have you feeling cool, comfortable, and dry all day long. Oh, and they even have a little escape and evasion pocket which can store money or any other small items. And here's the best part, they're almost 30% less than the competition. I've been loving wearing these, and I know you guys will too. Ditch your old underwear and start buying from a patriotic company like Undertac. Visit getundertac.com, that's getundertac.com. They're giving all my subscribers a 20% discount site-wide with the offer code KLUG20. And if this isn't enough, Undertac donates a portion of its profits to veteran-run organizations that are actively fighting human trafficking. Undertac.com, that's getundertac.com, offer code KLUG20. Let's get back into it. If a teacher wants to obtain a concealed carry, they can go through sheriff's training and actually get pretty serious training on concealed carry. Nobody knows you have the gun, you have it in there, and they call them, it's like they're sentinels. It's like they're sentinel training. Now, that's probably the most controversial of all those things, but I don't seem to have a necessary problem with that if they are receiving quite good training from, let's say, for example, Sheriff's Department or something. Do you agree with all of those?
Yeah,
You do?
absolutely. In fact, the last one that you just mentioned, I didn't know that was out there. I had brought that up in a conversation the other day.
If a citizen decides that, hey, I don't want to be a sheep, I want to be a wolf, if I'm in a situation like that, I think, yeah, you should have the right to be able to protect yourself.
Mainly, to me, those combat the idea of, oh, well, something bad happened on campus. Someone is on campus with something trying to hurt people. Do you know, when seconds count, there's that term, the cops are just minutes away. Do you really wait that long, or do we focus on protecting our children like we do our jewelry stores? And you seem like you agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for giving people the ability to respond on their own, sure. And I think people are willing to do that.
I think one popular argument would be they don't want it to look like a prison or something. You hear that on social media.
Yeah,
I don't want it to
get
be a
that.
prison.
You know, with kids and all that.
What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, when I was a kid, I was born in '84. So when I was in school, you know, it was generally, hey, you know, cops are the good guys. I know people have opinions about that nowadays too, but it's like when you're a kid in a school, the cop is a safe place.
When you go into a bank, do you feel like you're in a prison? No, you feel secure. I feel like I can go in there with $30,000 in cash for one of my businesses, and I can feel safe.
Right.
You know why? Because they protected their assets. They protected their institution.
The teacher can become a target,
Okay.
and the weapon can be stolen.
Okay.
You know, forcefully or not.
Aside from that, armed guard on campus, would you support?
Yeah.
None of you guys brought up banning guns. Do you think that's not the solution? What do you think?
No, because I mean, the guns are still out there, and
Your approach is more realistic than that. Is that correct?
correct.
People feel as if anybody can have a firearm, that it'll be used more often, which is the exact opposite. Because the more responsible individuals will be the ones who have that. And to have that responsibility is a burden that you carry on your shoulders.
You know, regardless of what side you are on the whole gun thing, fine, hate guns, but I mean, it's like, dude, these are kids. I mean, if I don't see why we're not protecting children, especially small children, small schools like the Uvalde thing. Those are small 7, 8, 9-year-old kids.
Wherever there's a valuable asset, you'll find armed guards.
Do you think children are more valuable than those items?
That's where the people have to see where society values what more. The fact that they install armed guards at every jewelry store, you go to the Los Angeles Jewelry District, you're going to see every single armed guard at every door. You know why? Because there's about $7 billion worth of jewelry assets.
More than kids.
Well, no, it's not just the jewels. Check this out. It's jewelry, it's capital, it's clubs.
We raised 4 children,
Right.
okay, and there's a lot of restrictions in their high school, but kids can even bring, I mean, unless they check everybody's backpack, kids could even bring weapons.
What's the primary thing? Is it mental health, or is it the
It's kinda
guns?
hard to get at mental health. I think it's the guns.
You think it's the guns?
I think it's the video games that promote shooting.
That's like a 1990s Christian conservative argument.
No.
The first-person shooter games are one of the major contributing factors.
Well,
I think it desensitizes
I think
kids.
yes, I agree.
I think the source is just the media alone. Everything is shock factor, everything. And I get it. We all get it. Everyone's trying to make some money, but I think it's gone a little too far. I think everything's about violence. Everything's about this the most negative, emotion you can pull out of somebody. And I think that's honestly the source, is not taking away the guns, is looking at why are kids doing this in general. It's not because guns exist. People are not running each other over just because cars exist. People like to drive in lines. Why are they driving in lines with cars and not shooting in line with the guns, I guess you could say.
And you bring up an interesting point, actually, and I don't know how much we're going to be hearing that today, but the media talking about it. They highlight the individual's face, their first name, their last name, and it's the most famous person in the United States for about a week or two.
Yeah.
Is that
If not
encouraging
longer.
people that have mental health issues, serious violent, issues? Is it encouraging them to want to be that next person? I think most people would guess probably.
I think so. Maybe, maybe it's not the main thing, but I think it's probably a huge thing. I mean, that's the whole point, as a lot of these kids are doing it for attention, and whether or not attention is good or bad, we know that from personal experience. It doesn't matter. People like attention, and especially kids that are hurt, going through something that's a new generation. Everyone hurts in different ways. They're going to lash out in a bunch of different ways. And the way they're getting attention right now is not the way to do it.
And then I do have to touch one thing, you guys. We're talking about you're talking about the first thing, ban semi-auto rifles.
Yes.
Does that come before the other things that we're talking about?
I think
Armed
schools
security,
and
like they have in
armed security
Israel.
has to be done. But
Is banning AR-15s? Is that at the top of that?
oh, absolutely.
So why?
Well, who needs an assault weapon? Do you live in
We
it?
do not live in the Western days. We do not live in Jerusalem where we're having
fighting all the time?
Right.
we don't live there. We live in a free country.
United States, baby.
There's all sorts of ways people can kill. It's not about what you use. It's not the medium. It's the mentality. It's if you have evil, regardless, you're gonna have evil.
mindset.
But
Everyone's
wouldn't
got
you
the wrong
much rather have a few angels, a few good souls within the crowd that might have the ability to protect not only themselves but those around them? You know, to stop a catastrophe, to stop a mass shooting.
None of you guys brought up like banning guns. There's calls to ban certain guns, whatnot. None of you guys brought that up. Do you think that just wouldn't solve the actual problem? What do you think? Or at least reduce the problem?
I don't think it would solve that problem. I mean, like, you can get a weapon anywhere, like in so many different ways.
I mean, the point of the Second Amendment is obviously your
I don't
right to
mind.
self-preservation
You can-
and to
yeah, but that's
resist
different. You
the
can have a
possibility
gun.
of tyrannical rule. Is that not important anymore?
Well, that's not going to happen here. But
Why
I
would
think-
that not happen
Well, I think
here?
there's too many weapons. We have, 400 million weapons with 300 and something million people, so that's an excess of guns.
But I'd much rather have one of these civilians out here, you know, that's trained, that has good intentions, that has their firearm concealed, and if I were to have mine, God, I hope that I would never have to use it. But in the worst case scenario, it comes a day where I'd rather have it and not ever need it than need it and not have it.
I definitely support it. I mean, I understand why people are scared. You know, I'm scared with other people, you know, being the leader of my kids as well, just in general. But at the end of the day, if you're scared for your teacher to have a gun, thinking that he might go buck wild with it, you might not want that teacher even teaching your kid in the first place. You shouldn't be sending your kid to that school anyways. There's definitely teachers that, I mean, now if you do that, yes, you need to make becoming a teacher a harder thing to do, for sure.
Well, I think it's not, because a lot of people, it's not so much that it's mandatory. It's that if there's a teacher that wants to pursue, you know, doing that, they go through those necessary steps to be able to do that. You mentioned there's 400 million guns in the country. We're saying a top thing is to ban AR-15s. There's tens of millions of semi-automatic rifles. How would you recommend that they would go about that?
I don't know. They have to get people to turn them in, but then that's a different story in itself.
They're not going to be able to do it completely. That's obvious, but they can work at it. Say that again.
I think
we're focusing on the semi-auto rifles. Why that? Can they not do it with another weapon? Is my question. They can.
Well, they
They
could,
can
but
to
a
a certain
handgun,
point.
you're limited. I think you're limited. AR-15 is like a mass killing machine
But
weapon.
they have to
That's not.
start with the worst first.
The worst
most
first.
dangerous first.
So we're jumping around a little bit, but AR-15s. I mean, they're used in 2.5% of homicides in the United States when it comes to homicides with a
Except
gun.
for mass shootings. Then you're getting into an AR-15.
Pistols are the majority of mass shootings as well, though.
I think for the amount of people killed in one incident, that's where you get the AR-15 style weapons.
So, if we were to remove those, you think that it would reduce the amount of people that are killed in those big instances? They are a minority, but in those specific cases, you think that would just reduce those, and that's it.
That's a killing machine, is what that is. An AR-15.
You know, we're talking about the AR-15s. Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
The sniper shooting.
No. Two pistols.
Two pistols.
Largest school shooting in U.S. history. So we're talking about what you guys are talking about, except for the largest school shooting in history is with two pistols. Can your same argument not be used for pistols as well?
Yes, they can.
I don't feel as though there's so much of a consistent argument when it comes to the reasoning behind the rifles, because it could kind of be used for pistols too. Would you disagree?
It could be. Yeah.
Lately, you've noticed that most of these mass shootings, they occur in tactically planned areas where there's guaranteed to little gun, ownership.
Sitting ducks.
Yeah, basically, it's almost as if the percentages are so high that there's not one person that's going to have a gun to protect the community, the area, and that's what's being targeted.
All right, everyone, that is it for today. Let me know what you guys thought about people's responses in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, make sure to subscribe for more videos, and hit that bell notification button so you're notified next time I post. We'll see you guys next time. All right, shake. That's pretty good. Daisy, what do we think? Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Good work, Daisy.